So my comment would be, I think it's a slippery slope. And over the last however many years, we've gone down this path that seems to be never ending. And it's dangerous. And I feel bad, not really for us, I feel bad for our kids. And I feel really bad for their kids, because it's probably by that time that we have no idea, what does this world look like if we don't get a hold of ourselves here. And we can point at multiple topics, which maybe you'll bring up, where we are saying things that are just not right. They're not proven, and they're dangerous.
So my dad would take my sister and I out on the balcony to stare at the stars, and we'd have these constellation maps, and we'd be like, what's dark matter? What's dark energy? What's there one big bang? Is there life out there? Like, what? Like, all so that. Constantly, every time I look in the space, I'm like, what's this? What's that? Like, where's it? So there's definitely that component, but also I've always loved adventure.
Okay. As I tell these young cats today, I'm like, I used to get in the car with strangers and buy drugs. Joe Rogan has this thing about it. I think it's Joe Rogan that talks about this. He's like, these kids are never going to understand what it was like for us to get weed back in the day. Right?
Isn't that so true? You are so right.
So
I mean, especially even for me, because I'm even older.
Right.
My favorite line is not to go down a rabbit hole here on getting weed when you're young, but when I was a kid, there were two kinds of weed.
Yeah.
The weed you had, or you didn't have any.
Tie-in here as a leader is this. If you can't authentically be yourself as a leader, then how do you expect your folks to show up and be authentically themselves and bring their voice to your business to contribute their ideas if you aren't authentic yourself?
It should not be governed by a third-party entity that has ties to Saudi Arabian government, and the list goes on, and to a lot of investors, and it's a total mess. It's a dumpster fire, and they were given too much power, and liberal media, and very specifically, on the left, cancel culture is, hey, if we don't like your ideas, we're going to shut you up. I know another group that did that in the 1940s. That didn't work out so well.
Brands, value, and mission. Brands, value, and mission. I've lived in Asheville Asheville, North Carolina, God's country here, 23 years, and I have never gone out to sit down and eat in a restaurant that was not owned by somebody locally. I do not do that.
This is via email. She writes back and she says, Jason, I don't know how to tell you this exactly. I just want to be clear and honest. Actually, this was a conversation. She's like, in order for my company to take your bid seriously, you have to add another zero.
And you're like, $10,000 to build a website? Like, okay, yes.
The thing is, it was just maintenance on their current site. It was one day.
Okay. So they had a site up. They just needed maintenance. Wow.
Yeah, they needed like 2 pages and some graphic changes and stuff. It was a day of work. And I said, okay. And I sent the statement of work, and she executed it right away. And I made $10,000 that day. And I thought, this is a business.
It's actually funny how that happened. I came up with that on a phone screen. I'm pretty sure it was a phone screen with the candidate. And we were just kind of talking, and she's from an area called Marin here in the Bay Area. And it is kind of like an older hippie town, but they're all these executives or professionals who balance. And I was like, yeah, they're all a bunch of corporate hippies. And she was like, you have to coin that. And I was like, I kind of do, because I outside of my life, I would consider myself a very 21st century hippie, right? But I also really like to hustle, so it's like this balance of this corporate hippie. So that's where it came from.
Along the way, it starts by saying, let me start managing a team of 5 people. Either you get promoted in your company, or you get the opportunity, or someone just gives you that chance. Okay, you're managing 5 people. If you do it well, you can take that next step. And I just picked managing size because it's very easy to quantitatively show it. But for all the skills and experience, you're going to figure out what those steps are to get to the end. And if you think back to your projects at work, when you have a 2-year project, say, well, we need to be here in 2 years. What do? You have those milestones along the way. Where do we need to be at the end of the quarter? What do we do the next quarter?
When we get home, our phones go in the bowl, everything goes in the bowl. So we're not looking at our cell phones, we're not reading emails, we are 100% engaged in the kids, right? And weekends, we don't, work or anything like that, because again, it's our time. Like if I'm at work, I'm putting 100%, but if I'm at home, I'm putting in 100%. And that's for all couples that are, listening to this, is you have to separate it, because if not, it's going to drain you.
Just hope that maybe my story helps others, I guess, to have personal growth, personal love, self-respect, and just know that it really does just boil down to helping each other, being kind to each other. And I hope that people see that, through my story. So maybe it is just my purpose is helping others find their center.
Well, of course there is. There's no question. There should be no question in anyone's mind that there's life elsewhere in the cosmos. The mathematics of the situation, the science of life, the generation of life, make it a foregone conclusion that there's life elsewhere. So we shouldn't continue to wrestle with the question of whether there's life. The question of when do we find it is really the real question of the day. And
got a teapot, and I don't even know, some foil and some other stuff, and made a pipe out of it. And so he had me try some, and I got quite mellow. And he still teases me because I saw the cat lying down underneath the coffee table, all stretched out, really comfortable. And I just looked at the cat, and I was pretty comfortable. And I said to my son, I wish I was a cat. But I said it in I wish I was a cat type, And he started laughing, and he said, Mom, you're stoned. And I said, no, I'm not. He goes, yes, you are. You're stoned. And he started laughing. He said, I got my mom stoned.
And so that whole methodology inside of intellect, will, and passions, there's many virtues that support those different things. So for intellect, it's prudence. For the will, it's justice. And for one horse, it's fortitude, so courage. And for the other horse, it's temperance. So those are all main virtues. And then there's many sub-virtues underneath it. But essentially the thing that's cool about it is just simply understanding that programs your mind to live a virtuous life of high character. And I think one thing we're losing out in school is we're teaching math and science and English and all this stuff. And what we're not doing is teaching the most important thing of all, which is character. How should you actually live your life? What's the path to living a virtuous life that is for the greater good of everyone? We're not teaching the very most important thing in school. And the funny thing is they used to teach it. This was actually taught in school for hundreds of years, and then it was taken out of education at some point. And I think if we simply taught people that, you would have a much better society. And so